I'm Faith Maddison, former Faith Oostra. I graduated the class of 2018, and now I am an athletic trainer at Southeast Polk. My day-to-day kind of depends on the season, kind of the time of year, practice-wise. So never 2 days are the same, ever, thankfully. When it comes to like football season, preseason stuff, like what's coming up, we'll be in the mornings for a while, and then we'll transition to afternoons depending on when teachers head into report. During school hours kind of thing, we usually hear about like 1 o'clock, and then we're here till the end of practice. That doesn't mean that we're constantly here in the AT room up top in the high school. Sometimes we're head down to the stadium, sometimes we're head out to the fields. It just kind of depends on where practice is being located. When it comes to like winter sports, we kind of home ourselves up here in the school. We do like the winter sports sometimes too. It's just a different change of pace. When it comes to spring, we usually head ourselves back out to the track. Luckily, Southeast Polk has 2 stadiums that we can utilize. So we kind of hop ourselves around, and it's just me and my coworker. So we can kind of split things a little bit easier. And if one of us has to be gone, it's easy to kind of cover both if we have to. And then summer, we're usually out at the ball fields, out in the sun the whole time in the heat. We usually only get like maybe a week break, maybe 2 depending on spring break, but that's usually all we get because we have a lot of crossover. Luckily, like our teams do pretty well in postseason, so we end up having to go with them to their postseason activities. We only travel for football. Every Friday night we're going somewhere different. We don't have to travel for the lower levels, but then we do travel for any state play that we do participate in. So we're all over the place constantly. My typical rule is any type of injuries that we have, we try to rehab them, get them back into participation. However, it's a lot of prevention too. We're trying to prevent these athletes from actually getting injured. Yeah, it's job security if they do get injured, but it's kind of not my role. I don't really like when my kids are injured because that means that they can't be doing the thing that they love. We do talk to coaches trying to figure out their schedules, so then we can try to figure out, okay, what can we do to help prevent? What injuries did we have last year that were high? Can we try to prevent them this year? What are we starting to get hearing from the athletes in preseason with their workouts? Like, oh, are we having more hamstrings, ankles? Okay, can we make sure that that doesn't progress? When it comes to practice-wise, teams are pretty good about setting up their own water, but we will help with water. When it comes to heat, we do have regulations for heat. Heat-wise is kind of like our biggest thing right now that we try to regulate, and then along with concussion. Really hard to prevent a concussion sometimes, but try to make the knowledge of it a little bit better. If you probably talked to me when I was younger, this is not where I thought I'd be. I knew I wanted to do something with sports. I do love sports. I just never thought I would be in a big city. But I was wanting to go physical therapy first. It's kind of like my route. And then going through college at UNI, I realized that I don't think I could be stuck in a clinic too much. I wanted to be more with athletes. So AT was kind of the realm I ended up heading into, and I don't think I would ever change back. I think with Pekin, shaping me was more of the development with sports. We weren't always the best, but we had a lot of support through all the sports, through the boosters, that kind of thing. Coaches, for the most part, they cared about the kid that they were coaching. They tried to help as much as they could. Along with teachers, they always supported. They always came out to sporting events. They always made sure that, hey, a lot of the time, especially with like late nights, they're like, did you get enough sleep? How are you feeling? That kind of thing. I think a lot of teachers knew there was a lot of athletes, especially for sport athletes. They kind of helped change the way that I think as an AT as well. Like, you're not always just an athlete, you're a human being as well. So we try to make sure that we take care of that as well. I think Lisa Crabtree, for the most part, she was always sport orientated, but she also cared about her athletes and her students very well. She always saw like the bigger picture of things. So I think that she kind of guided me in the most. Being with the sports teams, being growing that like bond with other players, and it wasn't always just like girls basketball or girls volleyball, that type of thing. I think it was more of just the way that other teams interacted with each other. I just loved the support that we always gave. Showing up to football games, football players showing up to volleyball games, basketball games, that kind of thing. Like, we always supported everybody, along with parents. Like, even if they didn't have a kiddo, they were always showing up. I think the biggest thing from coming from a small school, being an athlete, was we had 4 sports. Constantly. Here I've realized that most athletes don't overlap. There is some overlap from sport to sport versus there's some that like I have just my soccer girls, and some of my soccer girls might do track, they might do volleyball, but like my soccer girls are my soccer girls. It also gives me like that time with them in their sport, and I'm not like trying to be like, okay, like what other sport are you trying to get to, that kind of thing. I think with a big city wise, they have a lot of opportunities to go do things elsewhere. So there's a lot of athletes that do clubs. Of course, in Iowa, we're the only state that does softball, baseball in the summer compared to every other state. They're doing club stuff as well. They're constantly doing their sport year round. There's a lot of them that specialize, so that kind of plays a part of a lot of it. But I feel like coming from a small school, we had more chances to be a four-sport athlete versus here. I feel like you got to specialize into one because it's hard to do more than that. The other thing that I have realized coming from a small school to a big city is the time frame. Like we were always in school from 8:15 to 3:30. These kids leave at noon. And they will go home, they'll take a nap, they'll eat, and then they'll come back for their practice at 4, or depending on whatever their practice is. But they just kind of up and leave, or they just come and hang out in here, which I love the fact that they're okay with hanging out in here because it means that they feel like this is their safe spot and they're not afraid of us. I feel like me growing up, I was kind of afraid to like say that I had an injury, which some of these kids still have that kind of mindset, but it's because I didn't have anybody there to support me in my injury because we didn't have an AT. We had PT, but it wasn't close by. We had to travel 15, 20 minutes for it. They have more opportunities for things. They have closer doctors. They have closer PTs. And then of course they have us ATs that are boom right there in the school. I think that they utilize that very well. I think UNI kind of set me up pretty well with all of my rotations up there because Cedar Falls, again, bigger city, they have more sports, but I'm still learning about swim and dive on a daily basis. I don't technically have to cover their events, but I still have the athletes coming in. Rugby was another one that I learned a little bit up in Cedar Falls, but we didn't have it at Beacon. I mean, we came from a very big wrestling school. I feel like this is a whole different realm of big wrestling school, but I kind of love it at the same time. So I feel like Pekin did help me prepare me for like understanding wrestling in a whole, to me coming here and understanding on a bigger level. The kids keep me on my toes. And I have such a wide range of ethnicities, religions, just personalities themselves. Not in a bad way, but Pekin was kind of closed off. And I feel like the kids here kind of open my horizon a little bit. I like to think that I'm pretty open-minded, but they make me a little bit more open-minded. And there's never a same day in here at all. God willing, they give me grace when I do mess up, and vice versa. I understand that they are human beings, and they're not defined by their sport. I teach them in here is the fact of you're not just an athlete to me. You are a human being. I want to make sure that you are ready to go outside of here, not just ready for your sport. Yeah, you got to be able to tackle. Yeah, you got to be able to run, that kind of thing. But I also want you to be able to go be with friends. I want you to be able to go on vacations with your family and not have to worry about an injury. I think that the way that Pekin, at a small school level, we had so much support from the boosters to the parents to the coaches. I know there was probably so much money that came out of coaches' pockets. But here they have the booster club that pays for so much, not even just for the athletes, but the athletes' parents, us ATs, coaches. There's constant meals. Parents provide meals for almost every sport. Even like, hey, if they're traveling, they have a snack bag that goes with them. I think that's probably what differs the most is the availability of support is probably on a bigger scale here, but I think that it almost compares to Pekin if you're thinking about big school to small school. Like I think that we were compared pretty decently, honestly. Yeah. Take everything with a grain of salt. Get yourself out there as much as possible. There's so many opportunities to grow yourself. Get away from home. Honestly, like just traveling, doing everything that I did through college. I love saying that, hey, I'm from Pekin. There's never a day that I'm just like, Pekin. I think they prepared me well to be able to like let my wings flow and let me fly out of the nest a little bit, but they always welcome us back home. I think that's like my biggest thing, is just get out of home. You can come back if you want to, but just experience life outside of small widow town. I think the biggest thing to finding community like at Southeast Polk is really just letting yourself be you. I didn't have to like conform to being a city girl when I came in, because there's so many personalities and just realms of life in a big city that you can find where your home is, and you can also learn so much more from everybody else around you. Abby, how would you answer this question as I think?
I asked her, how do you feel you've made the world a better place or inspired others? Her kindness. Inclusiveness, like you include people.
Oh.
That's so sweet.
Oh, you might make me cry. That was sweet. Okay. You got that right. Okay. Me coming into this role from an AT that was here for years previous, it was trying to figure out what did she do well, which I didn't want to be her by any means, but I wanted to know, hey, what did you like versus what didn't work well? To try to find that happy medium of me coming into a new role, fresh grad, that kind of thing. And my biggest thing was like, I didn't want to have somebody feel excluded. I didn't want just football players in here, and swim and dive, volleyball didn't feel welcome coming in. So I wanted to make sure that, hey, they did feel included. They felt like they were welcomed in, and they didn't have to have some kind of agenda to be in here or some type of title to be in here. And I've heard from other athletes, like that is what they love. They feel like they can come in year round, whether they're in a sport currently or they just do their one sport and that's it, and they can still feel like they can come in here. I try to have a smile on my face as much as possible. Of course, there are good days, there's bad days, there's things that happen. Injuries are not a positive thing ever, but I try to make sure that they see the light at the end of the tunnel. I understand that sometimes it can dim, but try to be their support system throughout everything that they go through. When it comes to life, I think God has kind of helped me keep that positivity. He takes all my bad away, and he kind of gives me that strength to go through that next day. And I try to keep that as my future kind of thing. Just making sure that they know that they are loved, whether it's by me, by their parents, by coaches, but mainly just more by God himself. So I try to keep my personal life out of my job. So when I walk in through those doors, it's all about my athletes. They are my focus. If a kiddo came up to you, they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's my AT. And if they see me out in public, they're like, guys, this is my AT, you gotta meet her. So I feel like I'm doing my job well if that's the case. They're not trying to go the opposite way from me. I feel like my title for myself, like, yes, it is AT. I know a lot of people don't want to be situated with their job a lot out in the world, but like I love what I do, and I do it for a reason. And I feel like that's why God placed me on this earth, was to be that person for these athletes, give them that support. My kiddos are probably like my other side of family. And my parents and my husband, they support me nonstop with whatever I do. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for my husband taking care of how much he does back home, and how much my family supports me, which I absolutely adore them for. Come out to games, they don't know the athletes at all. I mean, trust me, my athletes do come up to my parents. So they do get to know my athletes once in a while, but they see how much that I love what I do, and they support me through it. None of my family lives back home in the Pekin community anymore, but like we still keep tabs on them by all means, because that is home. That was home for my mom growing up. And I think that's one thing with Pekin, is that it's just where people feel like they can go back home to if they need to, which I love. Steps to become an AT. There's so many routes to becoming an AT. I say if you're still in high school, like if you love sports, like this could be a realm for you. However, if you want to become rich and a millionaire, this is not the job for you. It doesn't, I wouldn't say I get paid decently. I wouldn't say I get paid awful. But our profession is still growing. We're still trying to get recognition for it. I don't do what I do for the money. I do it for the support. If you're still in high school, I say get the understanding of anatomy, that kind of stuff. Go see Idol in his classes. Talk with as many people as you can. PTs, other ATs in the area, shadow them. Make sure this is the realm that you want to go. When it comes to college, it is now a master's program, so be prepared to spend the money for a master's. But I wouldn't have changed it anyway. I loved UNI. Iowa State, Iowa, very good programs. Grandview is a very good program. If they want to come shadow me, go for it. I'm open to it. When it comes to clinicals, do as much as you can. Don't focus on just the high school setting or the college setting. There's NFL, there's pro internships that you can try to get. You can go into industrial setting, you can go into performing arts, you can go into the military with AT. There's so many different routes. It's not just sitting at a high school and running onto a football field anymore. But I think those are kind of like the routes to go. I think the biggest thing is just more of, if you love sports and you love helping people go into this type of healthcare profession, but don't do it for the money, do it for the support. Go Panthers!